Em bị trong năm nay hả?
Em mấy lần trước cũng có nặng mấy lần ở đây, về nó cũng là không chú ý nhiều nên là nó cũng bị nặng hơn.
Gần đây em có tập gym không?
Dạ không, em mới lớp 9 rồi.
Mới lớp 9 hả?
Dạ.
Em đi với chị hả? Em đi mình.
Dạ, chị anh nằm kế bên.
À. Để qua đây nè. Nhi sao rồi? Nhi sao rồi? Em bị trong năm nay hả?
Ừ. Em mấy lần trước cũng có nặng mấy lần ở đây, về nó cũng là không chú ý nhiều nên là nó cũng bị nặng hơn.
Ừ. Gần đây em có tập gym không?
Dạ không, em mới lớp 9 rồi.
Mới lớp 9 hả?
Dạ.
Em đi với chị hả? Em đi mình.
Dạ, chị em nằm kế bên.
À. Để qua đây nè. Nhi sao rồi? Nhi sao rồi? Này em bị trong năm nay hả?
Ừ. Em mấy lần trước cũng có nặng mấy lần ở đây, về nó cũng là không chú ý nhiều nên là nó cũng bị nặng hơn.
Ừ. Gần đây em có tập gym không?
Dạ không, em mới lớp 9 rồi.
Mới lớp 9 hả?
Dạ.
Em đi với chị hả? Em đi mình.
Chị anh nằm kế bên.
À. Để qua đây nè. Nhi sao rồi? Nhi sao rồi? Em bị trong năm nay hả?
Ừ. Em mấy lần trước cũng có nặng mấy lần ở đây, về nó cũng là không chú ý nhiều nên là nó cũng bị nặng hơn.
Ừ. Gần đây em có tập gym không?
Dạ không, em mới lớp 9 rồi.
Mới lớp 9 hả?
Dạ.
Em đi với chị hả? Em đi mình.
Dạ, chị anh nằm kế bên.
À. Để qua đây nè. Nhi sao rồi? Nhi sao rồi? Này em bị trong năm nay hả?
Ừ. Em mấy lần trước cũng có nặng mấy lần ở đây, về nó cũng là không chú ý nhiều nên là nó cũng bị nặng hơn.
Ừ. Gần đây em có tập gym không?
Dạ không, em mới lớp 9 rồi.
Mới lớp 9 hả?
Dạ.
Em đi với chị hả? Em đi mình.
Chị anh nằm cái bên.
À. Để qua đây nè. Nhi sao rồi? Nhi sao rồi?
Imagine a remote island, a green jewel floating in the vast Indian Ocean. This is Mauritius, a land untouched by humans for millennia. A paradise where evolution took a unique and wonderful turn. And in this isolated world lived a bird unlike any other, a creature of legend, a symbol of extinction itself, the dodo. Today, we journey back in time to uncover the true story of this fascinating bird. Forget the clumsy, comical character you might picture. The real dodo was a marvel of adaptation, a survivor who thrived in its island home for centuries. Let's peel back the layers of myth and misunderstanding to reveal the dodo's world. Its life and its tragic, rapid demise. This is the story of the dodo's journey from the lush forests of Mauritius to the sad silence of extinction. Before the first ships ever broke the horizon, Mauritius was a world of its own. Volcanic in origin, covered in dense ebony forests and crisscrossed by rivers, it was an ecosystem in perfect balance. With no native land predators, the island's wildlife evolved in fascinating ways. Birds, reptiles, and insects flourished without fear. And in this haven, the dodo, a descendant of pigeons that had flown to the island long ago, began its unique evolutionary path, finding an abundance of food on the forest floor fallen fruits, nuts, seeds, and roots. The dodo's ancestors had little reason to fly. Over countless generations, their wings shrank, becoming small, stubby appendages, useless for flight. Their bodies grew larger and heavier, reaching about 3 feet tall and weighing up to 40 pounds. They developed a strong, hooked beak, a perfect tool for cracking open tough seeds and digging for roots. This wasn't a sign of being clumsy or primitive. It was a masterclass in adapting perfectly to its environment. The dodo wasn't a failed bird. It was the king of the Mauritian forest floor. For centuries, life for the dodo was predictable and peaceful. They likely lived in pairs or small family groups, nesting on the ground, laying a single precious egg in a simple nest of leaves and twigs. The parent dodos would have fiercely defended their nest, using that powerful beak against any natural threats, like the local snakes or birds of prey. Their lives were dictated by the seasons, feasting on ripe fruit in the wet season and relying on their stored fat and tougher seeds during the drier months. They were a key part of the ecosystem, their feeding habits helping to disperse seeds of native plants, including one particular tree now known as the dodo tree. It was a stable, successful existence. The dodo had no reason to believe its world would ever change. But change was coming, sailing across the ocean. In 1598, the world of the dodo was shattered. A fleet of Dutch ships, blown off course, landed on the shores of Mauritius. To the sailors, the island was a welcome sighter place to restock on fresh water, timber, and food. And for the first time, humans came face to face with the dodo. The sailors described a large, strange-looking bird that had no fear of them. Why would it? Nothing in the dodo's evolutionary history had taught it to fear a large land animal. They would walk right up to the newcomers, curious, and unafraid. This tameness, born of isolation, would be their downfall. The sailors, desperate for fresh meat after months at sea, found the dodos to be incredibly easy prey. They could simply walk up and club them. While sailors' journals often complained that dodo meat was tough and not very tasty, it was still a readily available source of protein. On an empty stomach, anything would do. But direct hunting by humans wasn't the main executioner. The real catastrophe. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. When you hear the word dodo, what's the first thing that comes to mind? For a lot of us, it's that quirky, slightly clumsy-looking bird from Alice in Wonderland, right? Or maybe the phrase dead as a dodo, a symbol for something that's gone forever. But what if I told you that for one island nation, the dodo is very much alive? Not as a living, breathing bird, but as a powerful, ever-present symbol of identity, history, and a lesson for the future. Today, we're journeying to the stunning island of Mauritius to uncover the incredible story of how a bird, famous for its extinction, became the heart and soul of a nation. Let's rewind the clock. Before humans arrived, Mauritius was a paradise, a volcanic island in the Indian Ocean covered in lush, dense forests. It was an isolated world, and life here evolved in unique ways. With no natural predators on the ground, many bird species, including a relative of the pigeon, lost their need to fly. Over thousands of years, this bird evolved into the large flightless creature we now know as the dodo, standing about 3 feet tall and weighing up to 40 pounds. The dodo was perfectly adapted to its peaceful environment. It nested on the ground, feasted on fallen fruit, and had absolutely no reason to fear anything. Its name, dodo, likely came from the Dutch word dodo, meaning sluggard, or the Portuguese word daudo, meaning fool or simpleton. It wasn't stupid. It was simply fearless, a trait that would tragically lead to its demise. Then, in the late 16th century, everything changed. Dutch sailors first landed on the uninhabited island in 1598, and they saw Mauritius as a perfect rest stop on their long voyages to Asia. For the dodo, this was the beginning of the end. The sailors, hungry after months at sea, found the dodo to be an incredibly easy source of food. Since the birds had never seen a predator, they didn't run away. They would just walk right up to the humans, making them easy targets. But direct hunting wasn't even the biggest problem. The real catastrophe came from the animals the sailors brought with them, either on purpose or by accident. Rats, pigs, dogs, and monkeys swarmed the island. These invasive species were a disaster for the local wildlife. They devoured the dodo's ground-level eggs, ate their food sources, and destroyed their forest habitat. The dodo, which had thrived for centuries in isolation, was completely unprepared for this onslaught. The tragic result, within less than a century of human arrival, the dodo was gone. The last confirmed sighting was in the 1660s. It happened so fast that for a long time, many people in Europe even doubted the dodo had ever existed. They thought it was a myth, a sailor's tall tale. There were no photographs, no complete skeletons, just a few scattered bones, sketches, and written accounts. The dodo became the first species whose extinction was documented and directly attributed to human activity. It was a shocking and sobering wake-up call, the poster child for what happens when we carelessly interfere with a delicate ecosystem. The phrase "dead as a dodo" entered our language as the ultimate symbol of finality and extinction. But that's not where the story ends. In fact, for Mauritius, it's where a new chapter begins. You might think a nation would want to forget such a tragic part of its history, but instead, Mauritius embraced the dodo, the island nation, which gained its independence in 1968, was forging a new identity, a melting pot of cultures from Africa, India, China, and Europe. They needed a symbol that was uniquely Mauritian, something that represented the island itself before all the colonization and changes. And what could be more uniquely Mauritian than the dodo? So, this extinct bird was placed right at the center of the nation's coat of arms, proudly holding a stalk of sugarcane, the crop that shaped much of the island's modern economy. From there, the dodo's presence exploded across the island. Today, when you visit Mauritius, the dodo is everywhere. It's on the currency, the official stamps, and government documents. It's the logo for national companies like the local brewery. You'll see its image on t-shirts, keychains, and every kind of souvenir imaginable in the markets of Port Louis. Hotels and restaurants are named after it. Sculptures and murals of the dodo decorate public spaces. It's impossible to spend a day in Mauritius without being reminded of this bird. It has been completely resurrected, not in flesh and blood, but in the cultural consciousness of the nation. It's a constant, friendly presence, a guardian spirit of the island. So why this deep connection? The dodo represents more than just a lost bird. For Mauritians, it's a symbol of the island's unique natural heritage, a reminder of the paradise that once was. It connects them to a time before colonization, a history that is purely their own, but it's also a powerful symbol of loss and a cautionary tale. The story of the dodo is taught in every Mauritian school. It's a lesson about the fragility of nature and the responsibility that humans have to protect it. In a way, the dodo's extinction helped shape Mauritius into a world leader in conservation. The nation is now home to some of the most successful conservation projects on the planet, saving other endangered species like the Mauritius kestrel and the pink pigeon from the same fate. The spirit of the dodo fuels this drive to protect what's left. The dodo has also become a global icon of extinction. But in Mauritius, it feels more like a symbol of resilience. It's a story of how a nation can take a tragedy and transform it into a source of pride, identity, and purpose. The bird may be gone, but its legacy is a living, breathing part of modern Mauritius. It's a reminder that even in loss, there can be a powerful story of rebirth. And it raises a fascinating question. Can something be more valuable in its absence than it was in its existence? For Mauritius, the answer seems to be a resounding yes. The dodo is not just a sad story. It's an icon of hope, a teacher, and the enduring heart of an island nation. The story of the dodo challenges us to look beyond the simple fact of its extinction and see the complex, beautiful relationship that has grown in its wake. It shows how history, culture, and nature can intertwine in the most unexpected ways. The next time you see a picture of that quirky, flightless bird, remember it's not just a symbol of what we've lost. For the people of Mauritius, it's a symbol of who they are. Thanks for joining me on this journey to Mauritius. What do you think about the dodo's legacy? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next adventure. See you next time.